But welcome to today's call. Excited to be here with y'all for our Thursday Attraction Mastermind. We got some good stuff happening in the organization, and we're going to have an amazing interview today that AJ is going to bring you. I want to open it up as we always do with some positive focus. What are your agent attraction related wins over the past week? Feel free to unmute yourself and just go ahead. Oh, I'm going to call on some of you because I know some of the wins you guys are having. While you guys are thinking about the exciting stuff you want to share with us, I want to highlight, we got a brand new member on here for the first time today, Ed Trainter. Ed, are you there?
Yeah, having a little trouble with the video, John, but I can see you all and
Awesome.
hear what you're.
Ed, why don't you share with everybody your background? I really feel like it will motivate some people as to the type of individuals and the quality of people that they're prospecting.
Yeah, well, first of all, hello, everybody. My name's Ed. Happy to be on this call. It's my first day. And I actually came over from Berkshire Hathaway. So I worked there for 4 years as a sales manager. Won 2 offices of the year during that time, and focus really heavily on recruiting. And that's why I'm here. I think you guys offer a great package and incredibly competitive. And I'm looking forward to get going.
Excited to have you, man. Yeah, so Ed stepped away from, a very prestigious role with one of the top Berkshire Hathaways in the country, making a very healthy salary, and saw enough value in EXP to go all in on it, which I'm grateful that he's doing it, but I'm confident that he's making the right decision. Like, this is where life change is happening for realtors, and it's not happening anywhere else, guys. It's really not. So with that opening, like, what wins do you guys have? Who are you talking to? Like, even small wins. Like, I think small wins are important as we all kind of like move forward together.
I have a small win, John.
Yeah.
A lady that my wife rides horses with, kind of unemployed. Her husband owns a race team, and she's like, I got to get into something. And she's been in sales. So I kind of convinced her to get into real estate. So she's in pre-licensing right now. So it's a small win. She's going to sign up when she's done, but could turn into something more eventually.
Awesome, that's awesome. Well, we all need frontline recruits, and I recently signed up a brand new agent too. That kind of excites me because there's so much possibility and opportunity tied to that. When you think about the statistic that every 2 years, 90% of the realtors are brand new to the industry, like that's one of the things that's really encouraging about our model is, yeah, we bring in the people like Ed Trainter, but we also bring in the new people, and it kind of recycles itself, and you're constantly adding new people to the funnel that have the power and potential to become our next leaders.
I got a new front line, and one thing that I'm most excited about is I see the three-way calls happening at a much higher level than they were just a couple months ago, which is a good sign for recruiting season is here. I think we had a little bit of a lull, but man, last Thursday alone, I had 5 three-way calls on the schedule. So guys, it's a good time to recruit. People are thinking about it. People are open to it. So I think this is going to be a really good second half of the year that we're headed into pretty soon to just crush it with recruiting. So keep your focus and keep your consistency going.
Nice, dude. Anybody else? One more? We'll take one more. Don't be shy.
My win for the week is actually this is all new to me, and being a realtor, I have a history of being into network marketing business, and I've been very, very successful with both businesses that I've taken on. And so when I ended up getting my real estate license just a few weeks ago, as I was looking around in the different brick and mortar, places, EXP is truly second nature to what I've done. I actually was 2 of the highest recruiters in both of my network marketing adventures. One, I was featured in Success Magazine, and the other one in 2.5 years, I was honored as number 41 in the company as the top millionaires. And so I did not know anything like EXP existed, but the moment I started looking at it and seeing a comp plan, and I started seeing that we could recruit, I was like excited. It was like blood to my veins, because this is what I do all the time. Before that I was a nurse, and then I just got into network marketing business. I've been successful, and I've taken all my funds pretty much and invested them into real estate. I have long and short-term rentals. I have right now I am joined with a building team where that's what encouraged me to get my real estate license, so that way I can list those 1 point something million homes that we're building. And so I'm super, super excited to be a part of EXP. I was told by Nathan to jump on this call. He said it'd be right up my alley since I love to recruit, and it's kind of just second nature to me.
That's so good. Yeah. And AJ and I talk about this all the time. Like, once you experience the compound leverage that occurs in a network marketing type model, I mean, you're just never going back to doing it the onesie twosie way.
Mm-mm.
And, you know, you couple that with our comp plan. Like, I get excited when I talk to people that have a network marketing background, because I know when they see our comp plan, they're going to be like, wait, what? Like, that's so generous. So we're happy to have you. And let's definitely get you in rotation to be as an interview, because I think you can share some fresh highlights about your past experience in those other companies that could be really beneficial to us over here. So let's make sure we get you on the docket for that. And again, welcome. And thank you for your positive share. Guys, I'm going to turn it over to AJ. AJ's got an awesome interview set up for us today. And let's get after it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm excited today. We got my friend and a repeat guest, Nevin on. Nevin, you ready to rock, man?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And a little side note, I'm excited to have you come check out Puerto Rico here. I know you're coming for a couple of weeks, and you'll be stopping by Dorado Beach to say hello here in a couple of weeks. So excited for that.
Me too.
Like a water park or something with all the kiddos. So that'll be fun. But yeah, man. So, you know, you've been in EXP now, what? Is it going on 2 years?
I'll finish year 3 here in July. So
3. Okay.
almost 3 years in.
Awesome. Awesome. So talk a little bit about just for those that may have not seen the last interview, just real brief, your background before joining EXP, and then we'll get into the success that you've had since you've joined.
Yeah, absolutely. So before EXP, I worked in the church pretty much since I graduated high school, went straight into working in the ministry, doing that. We ended up being missionaries for about 1.5 years, my wife and our 2 kids, down in Costa Rica for 1.5 years. And then moved back from that. And when we got back to the States about 4 months later, COVID happened, shut the world down. And before getting into becoming missionaries, I used to work in the oil field I was bivocational, right? I had 2 jobs, worked in the ministry and worked in the oil field. And I made a lot of money back then. And it was just me and my wife. And I had horrible money management, and I had no idea how to handle that at all. And then we went from, making well into the 6 figures comfortably as a, 20 something, and then moved off, became missionaries, to going to the smallest income I've ever had in my life, especially as an adult, but also with, at this point we added 2 kids and lived in a different country. And so I ended up getting us into around $32,000 of just consumer unleveraged debt. So whenever COVID happened, shut everything down, dark place in my life, very frustrated, very desperate to earn anything, because I had none of the, unemployment, didn't have any of those benefits. And real estate was one of the very, very few things open here in Minnesota. And so I jumped into real estate, and my buddy Blake, who's on this call, former youth pastor, connected us, and Blake reached out. And so I ended up partnering with him. I was actually on my way to join Coldwell Banker and join a team there. But Blake hit me up, was like, dude, come talk to me. Let's hang out. And me and Blake are, we're buddies. So I was like, absolutely. Ran with him, joined here. And then I just slammed myself into the deep end right away, because I was desperate. It was like I had to make something happen. So that first year and a half, my wife and I said, hey, we're just going to do whatever it takes to be successful. And she committed to watching the kids, taking care of them. At the time, they were 3 and 1, right? 3 and 2. And so she stayed there. And then I spent 60 to 80 hours a week learning and reaching out to people, doing everything I could to find success. But so that's kind of what got me into it. And that's what I did before real estate. That's why I got into real estate, because there was no other options. And I honestly thought real estate would be like, hey, 3-4 years deal. Once COVID's over and I could get a different job, I'll do it. At this point, I'm stuck. I'm staying. I love it. It's absolutely amazing. So it's been good. It's been really good. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome, man. I love that. You know, you're desperate. That word came up last week, and something I was listening to. I think it might have actually been, I watched Jesus Revolution last week, and I think it might have been that, talking about just what are you desperate for? And such a good word. I think people who come into this with desperation, being desperate, and those that come into, you know, the business world from maybe a lower income family or lower middle class or poverty, like that's their advantage. Like having that desperation, like it creates a hunger that no one else can compete with. And when you come into this opportunity with a level of comfort, that's like kind of a disadvantage in my opinion. I that's at least how I feel about business success. So it's good to recognize that. So rather than having a victim mentality when it comes to, oh, well, you know, I'm disadvantaged because of this, I failed with mismanaging money, or I came from a lower income family, so I don't have these privileges. It's like, no, that's your advantage. So take advantage of your advantage. And if you feel like you're a little bit comfortable, well, hey, that's your disadvantage, and you gotta shake that up. So I love that, man. That's such a cool backstory. I love to hear it. So you right at the gate, you partner up with Blake, who's just crushing it, doing some cardio right now on the call. I see you, Blake. What's up, man? Great crew you guys got over there in Minnesota. So now you're doing sales and attraction, both?
Yep. So
Cool.
I was just kind of sticking with both. I did both right away. I was, I think too, what you said, like my desperation and need to be successful was an advantage, because I had absolutely nothing to lose, because I lost it all almost at this point.
Right. I've
So
been there.
I have no idea. And I knew no one in real estate. So, and it was nice starting in EXP. So everyone who starts here, like, hey, congratulations, just follow the system and what they're teaching you and dive into both at the same time, because then you just don't know any better and you don't know anything different, right? So that's what, like, you know, the crew I was with and the people who were kind of mentoring me through, guiding me through real estate were teaching me is like, hey, talk to every agent as you do deals. Every showing you go on, try to build good rapport, just connect. And I was super shy. I had no idea what I was doing. And I probably, like, you know, dropped the ball so many different times. But in about a year and a half's time, like, I think it was a year and 2 months later, I had 5 frontline agents, right? After a year and a few months. And it was like the first year, and I went to build that year with 5 agents. I was so pumped. I actually brought 2 guests with me. 2 of them were significant producers and agents. And I was pretty pumped because I had no right or reason to even be on their radar or for them to listen to me. Like, I did nothing to earn that in my mind. Like, I didn't deserve it. Like, I hadn't worked hard enough in the industry. But there are people who've been in the industry for 10 years, one of them 8 years at the time. One of them, like, her dad owned his own brokerage, right? So, and they both came, went to build with us that first year, and ended up partnering up with us as well. And one of them's done really well with recruiting and agent attraction, and she's still hitting home runs. So I'm very, very pumped and grateful.
That's amazing. It's kind of like the same excuse that new agents have. They're like, well, I'm a new agent. You know, who's going to want to list their house with me? I'm a new agent. Who's going to want to work with me? You know, I'm only 25. Who's going to want to work with me? It's like, well, they're just all limiting beliefs. They're all excuses. And as long as you believe them, well, then, yeah, that's your reality. But when you're like, hey, you know, I'm just going to put faith that if I do what these guys are showing me, that it'll pay off. And that's what you did, but which is amazing. And build, for those of you guys that don't know, San Antonio this year, I think it's July 10th through the 13th. I might be late to the party, but I just saw an email recently that said all your guest tickets that you buy are 50% off. So I didn't know that. So if you're looking to get people to build, those tickets are 50% off, which is really awesome. So that's like the key that we always talk about success, right? Showing up to events, you know, getting people to the events. And would you say, like, I'm always curious, like, because you really didn't know much about real estate coming into it, right? You got your real estate license because you had really no other options as you saw it. You partner with Blake and those guys. Like, what was more important to you at that time? Was it EXP specifically and everything you had to offer, or was it what Blake was kind of, I guess, projecting in terms of what he had to offer at like a personal mentorship level? Which one drew you more to this opportunity?
Yeah, I think great question, right? Great question. Maybe a little initially because I saw what was happening. I told my wife straight up whenever Blake reached out, because I was going to Coldwell Banker with a team that had been around for probably 30 years, right? Like the senior of it, he's probably well on his way out or trying to be done. He's just doing it still for some reason, but he's like close to 80 and surprised that he's still working, right? And I was headed into that team. And whenever Blake reached out, I told my wife, I was like, well, I want to be with them because I want to be cordial. I want to be nice. Like, I don't want to be a jerk, but like, there's no way I'm partnering with Blake. Like, what does he possibly have to offer that's better than somebody who's been in it this long? And then he sat there and this was back whenever like people were just like explaining, like just peeing all, like just vomiting on everybody, right?
Yeah, being all over the place.
EXP for like an hour and a half. He just talked to me over the phone and I was just like blasted. And I was like, I don't know, man. He's like, well, here, watch this video. And I was like, all right. And he sent me a 45-minute video. So I'm like, all right, cool. 2.5 hours into this thing now. And I told my wife, I was like, I don't even know, right? But my wife was loving it. She was super excited, right? Because she would originally got into real estate to join Keller Williams way back when, and to be a part of that and to do that. So she saw it, she was excited. And she basically told me, she's like, what's the worst that happens? You give it a year and it sucks and you move on to a different company. I was like, they're going to help you sell some houses, right? Like Blake showed me his like board behind him. I couldn't read any names, but he had a whiteboard with all these names scribbled over. He's like, I got like $60 million in volume back here. And I was like, sure. Right. I was blown away. I'm sure that was just him blowing me up at the time, but hey, who knows? I was new and I was ready to go with somebody who could help me be successful. So I was excited for what EXP could be if I stuck with it. And then also because of who Blake is and like we're pretty much the same age, similar focus, we like to be creative, like to do fun things and have a good time. So I just versus, going with someone who was on a whole different page than I was as far as personality goes. So it's kind of a combination of both whenever I partnered with him.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's funny about Blake's whiteboard, so that's a tip. If you don't have a lot going on, just scribble all over the board and just be like, look at all the business I got going on, because perception is reality. Of course, you don't want to lie, but I think there is something to be said if you are a newer attractor, newer agent looking to attract. If you're lacking confidence, like do things that will increase your confidence for it. I mean, for my first few years in the business, I always wore a suit to every single listing appointment and never not wore probably a suit. Maybe I just took the tie off, to be honest, because I wanted to, project the success and I felt more confident in a suit. So, if you're doing Zoom calls to recruit people, rather than having the closet door behind you, have some stuff on the wall with scribbles on it. It sounds like could be helpful. I see that a lot. And one thing too that I notice with successful people is when you're talking to them, they have energy, they have enthusiasm. And knowing Blake, I'm sure a lot of that came through. You gotta be excited about what you're presenting. And so fast forward today, we're 3 years in. What are your income goals around the opportunity? Like, if you want to share maybe a little bit, you got how many people you got in your group, how much you think you'll make this year from revenue share, and then like how you see that kind of just fitting in with selling real estate. The thing that I love the most about, I guess, life, but specifically this opportunity, is that we can all craft our own visions for what we want. And it's always fun for me to dig in and hear about people's lifestyle goals and how they're going to achieve it through rev share and real estate as a whole. So talk just a little bit about, your goals around rev share and sales.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I really want to share too, before I jump into all that, is just like, this is like, for me personally, I've been one of the most inconsistent people in the world at this. And it's been both the most amazing thing and the suckiest thing about it, right? Because I'm very emotionally driven, which is a great thing and a terrible thing, right? And I embrace it, and I'm learning to develop myself and grow in a way that I haven't before, and allow myself the opportunity to become more disciplined, right? Not let my past dictate my future, you know what I mean? And not let who I used to be to impact who I'm going to be or who I am. It's fun because like I think we've talked about this book before, and then what is it? Personality Isn't Permanent. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I went blank on the name, but I just went through it, crushed through it about a week ago, started it a second time, getting it back through because I'm like, what the heck? Great book. I know Matt on this call was also sharing some insight to it. So it prompted me to read it all over and just dive into it again. And I believe John shared it. So like, I've heard this book so many times and I'm like, you know what? I need to get into this, right? But I think this last year, because this last interview, we were pushing this hard and we were having a blast. Like I think I hit in because what? August of 2021, that was a year and a couple months in, I had 5 agents. August of 2022, I was at 70 agents by that September, right? And I had 10 FLQA or 10 FLAs at the time, about 6 or 7, maybe 8 FLQAs. And we were growing and we were doing calls every Wednesday, having a blast. Winter came, right? You got all the holiday season, so we kind of put it on hold. All the agents we were calling were being very passive and just like, oh, let's talk later. And so we kind of decided to hold off till after Christmas. But then I got like super depressed. And like, if I'm being really honest, and I just got down kind of in the pits. Everything was going well. There's no reason why I needed to feel this way. But I just let that whole, how I felt, right? Because I'm emotionally driven, or I have been in the past. I'm trying to learn how to, hey, be disciplined over just the way I feel. And we stopped all of it, all the way up until about just this last month here in May, early May, maybe close to the end of April. I didn't do anything for almost 6 months. And then the market was tightening. And because I wasn't being active on any front other than like some transactional fronts, right? I just was getting down and down. And finally, like, I don't know what clicked, but it was just like this idea inside of me just finally snapped and they're like, what are you doing? You know? And so I started to get back on it. I think what happened is like, I'm currently sitting at this very moment. I have on my dashboard, it shows FL8 frontline, 68 people in my organization. I think the reality is I lost 3 frontline in 1 week, which sucks. Like one of them just texted me one day, like ghosted me for a month and just shot me a text. And he was like, hey. And it just was like, I went to Coldwell. I was like, what in the world? And so like, it was crazy because it hit me. And I think whenever all that it was before all that hit me, but like once all that kind of hit, like I really started to like, hey, I need to get back on this and be much more present and really try to push this again. And so since then, just again, back in May, I started reaching out to people and I hit up some of the biggest producers up here in our area, and not like the biggest, but some of them are, but really great producers, people who outproduce me hand over fist tremendously, that I've met on other sides of transactions and just hit them up just to be like, hey, how's it going? Let's get together. I want to see if we could do just a business evaluation together. Right. And take some time to kind of talk to each other and see if there's any way we can contribute to what you've got going on. One of them was like, said yes. I believe they're coming to build with me. They're checking their daughter's schedule. As of yesterday, we reconnected for our follow-up and they're going to check out build and possibly come with us. So, and then the other lady just slammed, like busier than anybody I can imagine. And Blake knows, he's been helping me with this one. And we're supposed to reconnect whenever I come back from Puerto Rico. But it was funny because we were talking and she just was like, hey, we're going to meet. And then she blew me off saying like, hey, I just don't have any time, right? I just can't do it. And I'm too busy. And then I remember reaching out to her, just following up with like, hey, we all got into this business because of the financial reward that we could get. And because it was meant to be flexible and have more time with it. But like, hey, you crushed the financial side, but your time is shot. Like, I remember you've talked about that every single time we've hung out, how shot your time is. We just want to help you have more time back. When can we meet? And then she was like, call me when you come back from Puerto Rico. I was like, okay. Right. But it was just like having a moment of courage just to tell her. And I'm talking about these are people who are way out of my league, but it was exciting because it just reminded me, like you said, like you had 5 3-way calls last Thursday, right? It's like people are very well open to it right now. And it kind of got me fired up. Hopefully it gets everybody else fired up again for it. And
yeah, this is good stuff, man. This is, what people need to hear. The reality is that I would gather every single person on this call can relate to, what you just described, with you feel like you're operating on all cylinders, then all of a sudden you just kind of fall off, life happens. You can't even really identify why. It's just, kind of a feeling, no external reason why you should really feel like that. But, the reality, that's the human condition, right? And what matters is getting back up and continuing with what works, which you've done, and really, getting as good as possible at limiting the gaps in between when you're on and off, and trying to make those as short as possible. I mean, I remember when I used to prospect a lot for real estate sales, because that prospecting for real estate sales expired listings is just a different animal. Like if you do it like that for Attraction, you'll be making so much money, man, calling 100 people a week for years. But man, some days I would just like, if someone said the wrong thing to me, because they're ticked off because they got 20 calls and they're calling me names, I would just go home and just be like, I'm done, but I'd show up the next day, and that's what matters. So what can you maybe attribute to like getting back in the groove? Like, is there anything that you're like, man, I can put my finger on, this is why I got back on the horse? Because I think a lot of people listening, myself included, sometimes when we feel like we're in that rut, or we haven't even got started, or we got started then we stopped, we're trying to figure out a way out. And no doubt with 46 people on the call right now, there's somebody, and probably lots of people listening, that like, yeah, that's me. I need something that can be a catalyst to get me going again. Was there anything specifically for you that kind of got you out of that funk?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things, and they all kind of accumulated in one moment, which was a great thing. But I was pushing really hard to get the transactions kind of taken off. I was like, dude, I want to set a stupid, outrageous goal. I want to try to sell 100 homes this year and really push it, right? Because I was like, I need to prove to myself I can do this. Stupid, outrageous goal, right? So I started pushing. I was calling, talking 10 to at minimum of 10. I couldn't stop talking to people until I had 10 different real conversations that led towards real estate or in that practice, right? And it was 10 new people a day. So I couldn't count my follow-ups. I counted follow-ups as conversations, but for me mentally too, I was like having a track of like, I need to have 10 conversations a day. And I did that for almost 90 days and I was just exhausted. Worked really hard, closed like 3 or 4 transactions, and I was really excited. Like things were going. A lot of people were kind of getting approved, not getting approved. Some people were on the fence. I just wasn't talking to the right people, right? So I learned a lot about like, hey, you need to talk to the right people. And then all those transactions, as exciting and as great as those like income hits were, it was just like dwindling out more and more every month, and there's nothing else to replace it except for whatever was coming in on rev share. Now, granted, the market, everyone I think slowed down for the last 4 months during that time, and now it's kind of like in a weird kind of picking up, kind of not, right? But it was just like, and it just like in that moment, I was like, golly, I hate spending this much effort on something that's just a one-time payment, And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy selling houses. I do enjoy it, and I'm not going to stop by any means, not anytime soon. There's no reason for me to, but it's like, why did I let go of doing the other? And so that kind of happened. And at the same time, just got a recording of one of our agent attraction videos. And I was like, I'm going to watch it. I need to get back in this mindset. And it like was all at the same like timing. And I think that pain of just being like, I got to just keep working like my tail off. And it was like, I used to work in the oil field, right? So I used to work 60 to 70 hours a week. And I woke up, went to work. I was in the office by 5 and I came home around 6, right? Like every day, 5 to 6 days a week. And that's just what I did, and did that for like 2.5, almost 3 years. And I was like, I did that. And then here I am. And I made less money, I think, or I would have, compared to what I could make doing real estate. And I worked 3 times as much. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? But it's like, if I'm willing to be away from my family for 12 to 13 hours a day to get paid not as much as I could get here and make it, just like all this, like, I don't know what it was or how to explain it, but it's just like that frustration was setting in of like, I'm working really hard to make nothing right now. And I'm putting in a lot of effort in the wrong places to make nothing. Yeah. And I just needed to reset my mind, because obviously, as terrible as an agent attractor as I am and recruiter as I am, like I was able to set appointments pretty consistently whenever I tried.
Yeah. That's what it seemed like on our last interview too. And just talking to you when we've seen each other in person is like, not that you're a bad recruiter, but what I realized about you is it seems like you set appointments relatively easy. Like I remember first time we chatted probably at like a build event or something, talking to you and like wanting to pick your brain, like what are you saying? Because you were having good success with it. And you were so chill about it. Like you didn't, it seemed to me like for being a newer agent, you had a lot of courage to reach out to the bigger people and we're having success with it. And I think, coming back to it again and getting on fire for it again, you're repeating that same success based on what you've shared with us, which is awesome, man. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody that, you can do it. Doesn't matter if you're new, doesn't matter. You just gotta have the courage to do it, be relaxed. You don't strike me as someone who's very, very really attached to the outcome. We always say, marry the process, divorce the result. So talk about where you're at now. So how many total agents in your rev share group right now?
68 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What and you got was the calendar accurate? Do you have 8 FLQA right now?
It says 8 on my dashboard, but I was looking at it and 3 of those people are not here right now. So it's technically 5.
So it's going down. Yeah, I know what that feels like. So for those that don't know, for a revenue share organization that has 2 levels open, so 5 plus FLQA, 70-ish people, 60, 70-ish people, how much on average, if you were to average that out over a year, could someone expect per month?
So let me see, around anywhere from 15, I would say around 1,500 to like 2,000.
Okay. So 1,500, 2,000. So we'll call it, 20 grand a year. How many are on like your 3rd, 4th, and 5th levels?
The majority.
Yeah.
Because I think I have 14 on level 2 and like 28 on level 3.
Yeah. So that's the big deal there.
A decent amount, I think like 15 on level 4.
Yeah.
And a few on levels 5 and 6.
Yeah. So it's time to put a head down and get to at least 20 FLQA ASAP.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yeah, you'll probably double your income. You will double your income when you hit that, which will be awesome. Cool. That's good. As far as like what's working for you, you're talking, and if you want, I'd love for you to share too the story of how you got the team there in Minnesota. Because I love that story. Share that, but also share just like your approach, so someone wants to start doing this, like who do you decide to call? What do you initially say? Like, what's your initial approach like? Then what's the process after that?
Yeah. So I'll start with, you want me to start with the team story?
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, cool. So the team story was, there's a team here, so they go by Legacy House that partnered with us, right? And I remember it was COVID time. So this is my first year. And I had a video background. So I used to video, film, and edit. So I thought, hey, I would teach people how to do it all from their phone for free to help people out and use that as an attraction piece in the long run. So I would do an hour and a half to 2 hour Zoom where I just went start to finish with folks. And we practiced editing together, filming together, all in that hour and a half, 2 hours. And then one day she hit me up. She's like, hey, you taught me a class. Can you come help me film something? So I was like, sure. I came out. I filmed a walkthrough for a property with them and just edited it, put together. But while we're there, I was like, hey, I would love to talk to you more about business and how's it going and just see if there's, any way for us to kind of partner up. And she told me, hey, you know what? I've actually been approached twice. Like I heard it from Noel, I heard it from Blake. And, it's not really for us. I said, all right, cool. I was like, well, would you mind if I just practice presenting to you? Because like, I appreciate your honest opinion for someone who's not interested. Can I practice it on you? She said, sure, I'll let you practice. So, I was like, cool. Cause I helped her with the video. She's like, I'll help you out, let you practice on me and I'll give you my feedback. So she came, we met at the office and I got the TV set up. I made sure the Brent Grove presentation was there, ready, paused on a black screen so they didn't notice it. And then we came in, we did the normal, hi, how are you? What's up? And I was like, hey, thank you guys, so much for coming. I figured I just carved out like less than an hour to be with you guys. Is that cool? They're like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. Let's go ahead. I want to dive into the presentation. Grab your seats. I sat down. I was like, all right, here we go. I pressed play and I turned my back and I didn't look at them for the next 45 minutes. And I just let the Brent Gove presentation play. And then at the end of it, I turned it off. And I was like, so guys, what'd you like? And Haley was like, dude, this is the first time I've ever seen this. This is amazing. Like, this makes a lot of sense. And I was like, yes. Like, cause I was nervous, like my leg was bouncing and I was shaking and I was like laughing when you're supposed to laugh, like when Britt says something kind of funny and like anything else, I was just leaning in. And they told me, they're like, you were leaning in so much that we were like, what are we missing? Like, and they kept like watching the TV from it. So yeah, but that led to them, she was excited and she goes, hey, I got a couple friends who need to see this. Came back in a few days, brought a few extra people with her and they watched it again. And so, but it was nice because it was in the office. I had Blake and Joey around. So they came in and said hi, did a little bit of a, third party edification in that moment, like a three-way. But they ended up coming to build with us, partnered with us, and are still here kicking it.
That's amazing.
I was just like, can I practice on you?
Yeah, I love that. You added value first and foremost, you added value and then you just followed the process and that's gold. This is a very simple business. It's like when you compare this side by side to real estate sales, it's like, wow, like how is everybody not, spending at least 50% of their time on this, 50% on sales? Because it really is so good. And I love what you said too, when you kind of just had the epiphany about getting back into, hey, I'm going to attract agents. You're just like, why continue to put so much energy and effort into one-time sales versus attraction that will pay me forever and grow exponentially? It's seriously, and you got to be reminded about that too, because you knew that a year ago, and then you went through the little, the literal winter in Minnesota. And come springtime, you're like, okay, yeah, I remember what I was excited about 6 months ago. It's called residual income. Yeah, it's
It
cool.
was exciting. And we talked about it earlier when we started this call, everyone, right? Like we were talking about how like success can make you comfortable. And it's like success is probably our worst enemy.
Yeah.
And you get traction, man. It's the worst thing ever to be like, I am being successful. This is good. And I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Like it's horrible. Because then you get to where I'm at, right? And then you're like, holy cow, what happened to the last 6 months? Because we had phenomenal momentum coming into the fall. Like I had a group of 6 to 10 people that showed up every Wednesday, and everyone sat 1 to 3 appointments every single Wednesday with me. And
let me ask you about that time period. So you have your group going, everyone's sitting there, you're making calls together, there's good energy. Who were you closely aligned with at that time, whether it be an accountability partner, a paid coach, or mastermind group that were performing higher than you? Was there anybody that you had a really tight relationship with that you were meeting with on a weekly basis?
No, not at that moment. I think what it was is I saw a need, right? And I felt like this is how I was reflecting on, like, how did I have success? I literally hung out on Blake and Joey's floor as they made calls and three-way calls after three-way calls after three-way calls. I was just in the environment the whole time. And I got traction. I learned how to talk. I learned how to say hi. I learned how to say, the things. And it's like showing up to this call every week. I learned how to say the things. I learned how to make the calls, right? It's like I was exposed to it. And so I was like, let's create an environment to do that. Because like we don't have COVID. We're not locked down. Everyone's just doing their own thing now, right? Running crazy, having a blast. And so we decided just to set up a time where I would spend the 2 hours just hanging out with whoever was new to it and practicing scripts, role playing with them, doing a couple calls with them, just helping them build their confidence, and then like reliving the conversation with them as they happened, and then helping anybody who was in there making calls as well. So I didn't call anybody for that 2 hour window. I was just there as support. And then if they needed me to call someone for them just to get the ball rolling, like I would call someone for them.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I would run through it and see what would happen. But I didn't have anybody. And I think that's probably why I got to the point I did, right? Why I got down and why I got depressed, because I didn't have anybody there to, as an accountability, running it with me. It was more like, here I am charging the way, trying to pull everybody with me, but they all wanted to run, right? So I was trying to help everyone run. It wasn't like I was dragging people who weren't willing. The people who wanted to do it showed up, right? It was open to whoever. And then I just, got emotional, got down on myself somehow. So
Yeah, that's one of the things that I found in my life is if I ever feel like I'm lacking consistency or something, or just getting in a rut, I identify a few things that show up on a consistent basis that I've been able to see as a pattern in my life is like, do I have a paid coach? Do I have an accountability group? Do I have an accountability partner? Am I working out? Am I listening to positive motivational type content? And that's kind of what I always can point my finger back to is like, okay, I got myself in a rut, I'm coasting, I'm not going to the gym. All right, this is what I slacked on again. I find that when it comes to sales, and specifically agent attraction, because you kind of, you built a team of 70 agents, is what happens is when we're not locked in with like a running partner or a running group, people that are all leading similar sized groups to you or above, ideally a little bit above, so you can kind of chase them. If you're not locked into those people, it's really easy to transition to being more of a manager than like, I guess, an attractor yourself, which is sounded like even those call sessions kind of turned into, hey, I'm going to coach all you guys for those 2 hours, but you weren't maybe as engaged. And it's easier to be a manager because when you're just managing your team, you built your little team and now you just get to manage it and grow it and inspire them and all that kind of stuff. That's quite honestly more fun, and it's easier because you're not facing rejection on a daily basis.
right.
And then things tend to stall.
I think what inspired that too, because you said someone to run against, somebody who's like kind of pushing you. Like, he doesn't know this, but they don't anyways. But I think it was Matt and Rebecca joined Blake, right? And I said, no, I'm not going to get beat by some Keller Williams team leaders who have 50 years of combined experience and coaching experience. Like, they're not going to beat me to 100, right? Like, I am going to be 50% or more at Blake's organization, right? Like, I said, no stinking way. Because I was like 2 months after they joined, they had like 40 people, I felt like. And so I was like full panic mode. I was like, no, everybody who wants to do this, we're doing this together, and I'm making sure you're successful. And so that was like my mindset going into that Wednesday call too, because like I knew somebody was better than me and I couldn't handle it. And so I had to, it's competition, right? Competition, I feel like, is meant to bring out the best in each other. And obviously the best one wins, but I'm like, hey, this race just goes on until we quit. So I was like, I'm not quitting. So, but it was a huge thing, man.
Yeah, I like what John kind of opened up with when people were sharing wins, man. Just getting a new recruit to your organization just like injects like lifeblood into everything. It creates some new excitement, especially when you have a smaller organization because there's a new player. Like when Matt and Rebecca joined Blake, that was the new recruit for Blake's group. And then, you saw that and you're on their team. You're like, all right, now there's some internal competition that's, good and it's exciting and people feel that energy. And that doesn't happen if the leader doesn't get the new recruit to join. And this is like the stuff that's so crucial when your organization's like smaller, when it's sub 500, we'll say, is like all these little things that are so important. If you guys have some questions, put them in the chat. Would love to spend some time. We kind of switch up the format for these calls a little bit, just so you guys, we could spend less time going over the 12 building blocks and more time on just the interview, and then open Q&A for the guest if you guys have some questions. So circling back to the question. So you have your 70 agents. Like, for your specific lifestyle, what you're trying to accomplish with your family, like what would your dream financial freedom number be? Mine was $25,000 a month when I got started back in 2017. And I thought I would need 500 total agents in my organization to accomplish that. And that proved to be pretty on point. Do you kind of look at this opportunity like that? Have you put much thought into that?
Oh yeah, I put a lot of thought into that. I mean, I've gone to all the trainings. Like I've listened to you guys talk, your dream goals, all that, like using I am statements like I am a runner or I am a kite surfer. Like I've listened to everything, right? As if I could be there, I'm trying to be there. And if I can't, it's just because I can't. It's not because I'm like, I don't want to log on today, just busy. And so yeah, no, I would say the realistic, like life daily goal, monthly goal, like if we made 10 grand a month, we'd be fine. If it was like the big aspirational dream, like I would love to have a catamaran and sell. Like I would love to live on a boat and sell the Caribbean over and over, and maybe one day venture across the world, but that's honestly too ambitious. And I don't really think I even want to do that. I just want to sell in the Caribbean, right? Like, hey, let's do this. So for that, like that's more closer to like a $30,000 a month gig, right?
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, honestly, like if we hit that 200, 300 agent count, we would be financially set, like really set.
You said 200?
I think it's 250 or 275 to be like what we need and to live a really decent life and to enjoy it, to right. Because if my wife had it her way, we would just live on the beach in Mexico. And,
Yeah.
you know, like that. She's like very simple, very chill. So yeah.
I love that, man. That's good. You got some good clarity around that. And you're so close, dude. Like you just need organization. Yeah. Your organization needs to double and then double again. And you're there.
Double
And
twice over there.
yeah. The key, you know, I haven't beat this drum as much as I used to, but every attractor just needs to have head down. Don't think about anything else until you have 25 FLAs. Like that is the sole mission for every attractor. And when you have those blinders on, you get there. But what happens is you have 50 people in your organization, and then, you know, one blinder falls off, and now you're like, oh, I'm going to just lead these people. I'm going to start my own group call for these people. And then you become a manager, and then you never get to 25 FLAs. That's pretty much the dagger to every attractor that doesn't break like 500. It's because they just turn into a manager. And once you hit 250, if that's your financial goal, be a manager. Like I'm not trying to recruit every single day and face massive rejection for 2 hours a day, but I've already made my lifestyle goal like by a lot, you know. So like you can get there in a very short period of time, man. And where you're at, Nevin, dude, I totally see you getting there, man, within the next 12 to 24 months, dude. Like you got this, dude. It's very exciting. Question I saw pop up by my man, David Caggiano. When you were making calls with your organization, were you doing them in person at the office or on Zoom? And how many other agents were joining you weekly out of your organization? I'm assuming everyone was invited to join you.
Yeah, everyone, whoever wanted to show up. We didn't do it on Zoom. I think it was just mainly practical reasons. I didn't know how to figure that out mentally. You know, like I was like, how do I do this in a Zoom setting? Like, would we just all log on like this and then everyone mutes themselves, give a little thing, and then go call your people and come back and then just hang out with those who need help? Probably would work. Honestly, now that I said it, seems pretty easy. But never did. We did it right here in my living room. So I'm here, I'm at my kitchen counter. And so we just did it in here, met here. And then my wife would take the kids out to go play. And then everyone used all of our rooms to get, if they needed privacy or space to call without being distracted. We have, you know, 3 different rooms in our house. So they would bounce into those, or they would stand outside, make calls, and come back in to share wins or talk about it. Some of them would pair up and they would just sit next to each other, you go, I go style, and they would just try to set appointments. And then everyone had access to my calendar to see when I was available, and they could just book a spot. I was like, if I'm available, book it, just leave a 30-minute gap so I make sure I have time to drive wherever I need to go or be transition mentally. And that's all I did. I just did that back and forth. And we did that here in person, and it was whoever wanted to show up. And it wasn't just open to just my people. I know Blake came, we had a couple other people from, you know, some brothers and sisters or cousins in the organization come over occasionally as well. They would make calls with us and get things going. We also allowed people who wanted to focus on transactions to just call their transactional stuff. Like, hey, if you need help with that, come in here, like, we'll talk it out real quick and just make sure you feel confident with how do you open up a conversation, because most folks, I mean, I would almost say most of everyone on this call, even if you're new, once you get a conversation rolling, you'll kind of understand the flow of how to have a conversation with the person. Like, you've been doing it for, you know, anywhere from 20 something years to probably 60 something years of your life, right? So, and it's just a matter of then following the process that, you know, the peak, present, pass, promote.
Yeah, that's good, man. How you were describing the Zoom call, it made me remember back to like my first year of prospecting expired, so 2013. And there was a guy, I think he was in Louisiana, I want to say, but he would actually hold a Google Hangout, because Zoom wasn't around then, a Google Hangout, and there'd be like 15 prospectors on there. And when you were making a call, your audio would be going through the computer. So if you weren't on a call, you'd be listening to like whoever was on a call. And sometimes, people were talking over each other, but for the most part, you know, you got to dial a lot of people to get one to pick up. So you could actually hear that conversation. And that increased my confidence big time early on with those prospecting sessions. So if you guys don't have people local to you, you can definitely do it over Zoom, and it can be very effective, but it increases confidence for your group so much. And, you know, if you guys weren't at shareholders, go watch the Ed Milet session. That's on EXP's YouTube channel. It's amazing. It was a great keynote. And one of the things he always teaches is, you know, things are caught, not taught. And, you know, that's really exactly what you were doing with your group there in your apartment, was, you know, showing by example, getting people together, and people were catching those good habits from each other versus, you know, just it being all theory and teaching about it. Cool. People are fired up. Yeah, John says, do the hard work for a season, enjoy the fruits for a lifetime. That is a fact. You know, it's just, this is the opportunity for agents that it's for a season, not a lifetime, whereas selling houses is going to be for a lifetime. So make sure we keep this first in what we're trying to do.
An encouragement piece, I think what happens with my emotional ups and downs of this is I expect it to happen faster than it takes, you know, like that anticipation, like, oh, I could do this in a year. I could do this in 5 months. I could do this in 3 months. I could be one of those coaches. I could be one of those people. Like, I'll do this, but it's like, I don't treat my normal transaction business that way, right? Like, I don't treat it like I want to sell enough houses to retire this year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's like a 10-year plan.
That's
right?
good.
And why not allow the agent attraction to be a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan, you know, or 15? Like, the reality is like, I could sell houses for 25 years and I would barely be in my 50s. So, you know, it's like, hey, I can recruit agents for 25 years and be in my 50s and maybe be really, really sad, you know?
It's a great analogy, because I think that is what a lot of people feel. They feel like it should have happened faster. And it's just funny, man. And, you know, whenever I'm sharing advice, it's usually advice to myself, you know, or things that I learned over the years. So like, we just get like in our heads about things, and it's like, well, that person did it that fast and I'm not growing that fast, so I'm just going to quit or give up. Or it's, well, I'm not growing as fast as I wanted to grow, so I'm just going to quit. And when you look at the activities that actually went in to what you've accomplished for where you're currently at, if you're being honest with yourself, it's like, well, gosh, I only called 20 people and my organization's only 10. Well, okay, that makes sense. I didn't put in the work. Let me actually put in the work. But that's why coaching is so important, and having a mentor and having a mastermind group of people who are real and honest with you. I mean, you don't have to have a paid coach. I recommend it, but like having a group of 3 to 4 different people that are committed to a weekly call that can call you out on BS like that and pull you out of it. Because if I was in a group with you, Nevin, and you shared that with me, like, man, I feel like I should be a lot farther than I am. I'd be like, well, let's look at that. You know, like, what is the reality of the situation? And then the other thing is, man, it's like, you don't need to be farther along, because your goal is 275 agents. Like, you're right on track for that, man. You know, get into 50 is the hardest. You've already accomplished that in under 3 years, which is amazing. You know, pretty much 90% of the people on this call would like to have 50 people in their group over the next couple of years. And then on top of that, it's now you just got to double it and double it again, and you're there. So within potentially, the way I see it, if you don't take another winter off, in the next 2 years, man, you'll be there at the 250, 275 number, which means you hit your dream or close to your dream financial freedom within 5 years after getting your real estate license, which is exactly what I did. And exactly what I think you're going to do, man, which is incredible. Like there's a great network marketing book if you guys want to write down. I think it's called somewhere in my office. It's called The 4-Year Career. And I'm planning on ripping off that title and when I get around to it, which will probably never happen, it'd be cool to write a book called The 5-Year Career, because you can have a 5-year career as a real estate agent because you're building rev share. So like you're on path for a 5-year career, meaning you retire in 5 years from selling homes. And when you're sailing the Caribbean, man, you'll have to come pick me up. We'll cruise over to the islands nearby.
I definitely will.
Hopefully we can get on my e-foil while you're in town, man. If you want to try that out, I finally learned how to use it, so we can do some e-foiling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you a surfer? Have you surfed before?
No. So
All right. We'll have some fun with that.
I'll at least watch you.
Cool. Sounds good. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, this was great, man. Appreciate you coming back on. And we'll see you here in a couple of weeks in Puerto Rico. And then we'll get you back on when you break 100, man. So
Yeah,
get to
might be
work.
like-
What's that?
It'll be like July.
July. All right. I'll save a space in July for you. I'd be happy to have you back on July if you hit 100. But this is what people need to hear, man. You're a real honest, and this is the kind of stuff that I think is at the heart of the issue of why people aren't growing. So lots of great shares, and this is 90% mindset. That's the reality of success. 90% mindset, 10% of actual how-to. Knowledge is becoming a commodity. Wisdom, which is what you shared today, is the scarce resource that people are in search for. So you delivered, my friend. All right, guys, tomorrow's Freedom Friday. Crush it. You should have a time block in your calendar for a couple hours tomorrow to work on your attraction business. Don't just show up for these calls and then not do anything tomorrow. You're not going to get any closer to your goals. So get out there and crush it, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Nevin.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank everyone for being here.
See ya.